Hello there, and thank you so much for joining us here at this lightning talk at DockerCon 2022. My name is Anais Urlichs. I'm the open source developer advocate at AquaSecurity. AquaSecurity is focused on cloud native security. Think about container security. We have several open source and enterprise projects. However, in the next 10 minutes, I want to focus on one open source project in particular called Trivy. However, before I want to get started, I want to ask you this simple question. How often have you used third-party resources within your own development lifecycle? Now, this could be other people's Git repositories. This could be dependencies such as frameworks that are used within your own application. Or this could be other people's companies' container images that you use as base images as part of your own container image builds. You could also be using other container images to run alongside your own application to get access to additional features or to make your application work within your infrastructure context. Now, in most cases, we likely don't know all the dependencies that those third-party resources have within them, that they are dependent on, that they deploy within our own environment. And even if we have access to those resources, if they are open source, we likely don't have the time to go through all of the dependencies and check for vulnerabilities and unnecessary security risks that we might expose our application to. And this is exactly where security scanners, vulnerability scanners such as Trivy can help us. Now, Trivy can help us to find vulnerabilities within our container images, within our file systems, but it can also help us to identify misconfigurations within our infrastructure code, such as our Docker file and other configuration files. Now, we can go ahead and we can scan a container image right through the website, through the CLI, or now we can also use directly Docker Desktop to scan our container images with Trivy. Now, if you have access to the beta version of Docker Desktop or the latest release, you will have access to the extension section. Now, we can add a new extension. This will lead us to the marketplace, or we can go directly to the marketplace. Here you will find the Trivy Docker Desktop extension, and we can go ahead and install it. Now, once it's installed, we can open it up. As you can see, it will ask us right away to scan a container image and for vulnerabilities. So where those container images that you can scan right now are coming from. These are all of the container images that I have already locally. As you can see, upon installing the extension, it added a AquaSecurity Trivy Docker extension container image. This basically running the extension. Now, as you can see, I already have a React example application running here as a container image that I now want to check for vulnerabilities. So I can go to Trivy. I can filter through my different container images. The other container images are just to run the Kubernetes extension in Docker Desktop, but I want to check my React example application. I will scan this container image for vulnerabilities. As you can see, this container image has 2 critical vulnerabilities and 7 high vulnerabilities. You can filter for the different vulnerabilities that Trivy discovered within your container image. Additionally, besides scanning your own container images for vulnerabilities, you can scan third-party container images. For instance, from Docker Hub, we can scan the node container image that we want to use within our own builds, for example, for vulnerabilities. So in this case, I want to use the latest Alpine container image. I can just paste it in the same box and scan for vulnerabilities. Now, as you can see in this particular container image, there were no new vulnerabilities discovered. However, I can go ahead and check another container image such as node 17 for vulnerabilities. Now, in this case, it found 8 high vulnerabilities and 2 medium vulnerabilities. I have here the toggle on that I only want to show the vulnerabilities that have fixes, meaning those 10 vulnerabilities all have fixes available that I can deploy to update my container image to not have those vulnerabilities. Now I can untoggle this and show all of the vulnerabilities that are within this container image, all of the vulnerabilities that also don't have a fix available yet. And as you can see, there are lots of them. There are 12 critical, 130 high vulnerabilities, 298 medium vulnerabilities, and then about 500 low vulnerabilities that are found within this container image. Those are a lot, and those are not the number of vulnerabilities that I actually care about. So I really only want to show the vulnerabilities that already have a fix available, so I can update my own container image or update my version, my deployment of the node container image. In addition to scanning my container images locally and remote for vulnerabilities through the Trivy Darker Desktop extension, I can also generate an SBOM. Now, what is an SBOM? SBOM stands for Software Bill of Materials. It's basically an inventory list of all of the dependencies, all of the components, everything that your resource, such as your container image, is dependent on and is using, as well as the vulnerabilities that are within. So it's mainly machine readable, and it lists everything that's within that resource. Now, there are several advantages of generating SBOMs. The main one being that once you have an SBOM on your own resources, you can share that SBOM with third parties. And this will become particularly useful for security audits of your deployments, of your infrastructure. In addition to that, if you have access to somebody else's SBOM, you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to use their software and their other resources in your own deployments. Now, once you've generated through Trivy the SBOM, you can either copy it to your clipboard or save it locally as a file. Thank you so much for listening to our lightning talk. Make sure to try the Trivy Docker Desktop extension. Let us know how you like it. Let us know what kind of features you would like to see next. We hope to see you around, and enjoy the rest of DockerCon 2022. Bye bye.